For millions of people, leaving your country means buying a ticket, crossing a border, and starting somewhere new. For a North Korean trying to escape, it can mean risking everything. The journey does not end when the border disappears behind you. It may only be beginning. The northern frontier with China is heavily controlled. People caught attempting to flee can face severe punishment. And even reaching China does not necessarily mean freedom. Chinese authorities have historically repatriated North Korean escapees. For someone trying to escape, that creates a terrifying reality. There may be danger behind you, there may be danger ahead, and there may be nowhere safe to stop. This is Uncovering North Korea. Subscribe if you want to uncover the reality behind one of the world's most secretive regimes. One of the clearest examples of the risks involved came in 2017. A North Korean soldier attempted to cross the heavily fortified border into South Korea. North Korean forces opened fire as he tried to escape. He was shot, but he survived. After reaching South Korea, doctors treating him discovered severe health problems, including parasitic infections and evidence of serious malnutrition. His condition provided a rare physical glimpse into the circumstances experienced by at least some members of the North Korean military. But his story also raises a much bigger question. What happens to someone after they finally escape? Freedom can be a profound shock. Technology can be another. But one of the most surprising discoveries for some defectors can be something far more basic: abundance. Imagine entering a South Korean supermarket after years of scarcity and restricted access. Shelves filled with food, products from around the world, choices that may have seemed unimaginable. For someone who has spent years living with limited access to basic goods, the experience can be overwhelming. And that contrast exposes something propaganda cannot completely hide. The outside world exists. For years, North Korean propaganda has portrayed the outside world through its own carefully controlled narrative. But once someone has actually experienced life beyond North Korea, that narrative becomes much harder to maintain. And this helps explain why information is so important to the regime. A foreign television program may appear harmless. A film may seem insignificant. A glimpse of South Korean life might look like simple entertainment. But inside a closed political system, comparison can become dangerous. Because once people can compare their lives with those of people elsewhere, they can begin asking questions. Why do they have this? Why don't we? Why are we told something different? And perhaps most importantly, what else have we not been told? That is why the government has responded so aggressively to foreign cultural material. North Korea's 2020 anti-reactionary thought law introduced harsh punishment for distributing foreign cultural material, particularly South Korean content. The objective goes beyond censorship. It is about protecting an entire version of reality. But information is not the only thing North Korea has been trying to control. The regime has also built one of the most significant military capabilities in the region. North Korea has invested enormous resources in ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons despite widespread economic difficulties. The exact size of its nuclear arsenal remains uncertain. But analysts believe North Korea possesses a growing stockpile of nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them over considerable distances. For the leadership, these weapons appear to serve a purpose far beyond conventional military power. They are insurance. North Korea has watched what happened to governments that surrendered strategic weapons or lost the ability to deter outside intervention. From Pyongyang's perspective, nuclear weapons can help prevent the regime from suffering the same fate. They are a form of protection, a warning, and potentially a guarantee that any attempt to forcibly change the government would carry enormous consequences. This helps explain one of the great contradictions of modern North Korea. The country faces serious economic difficulties. Its population has experienced periods of severe scarcity. Yet the regime continues to devote enormous resources to maintaining and expanding strategic military capabilities. For the leadership, survival comes first, and nuclear weapons are central to that strategy. But North Korea is not operating in complete isolation. Its international relationships have also changed. The country has developed increasingly close military ties with Russia, including cooperation connected to Russia's war in Ukraine. North Korean ammunition and personnel have become part of a relationship that provides Pyongyang with economic and strategic benefits. That relationship matters because North Korea's survival has always depended partly on the international environment around it. China matters, Russia matters, South Korea matters, and the United States matters. Every major change in those relationships can affect the calculations made inside Pyongyang. But perhaps one of the biggest changes has occurred in North Korea's attitude toward South Korea itself. For generations, North Korean leaders officially maintained the idea that the Korean peninsula should eventually be reunified. It was a central part of the regime's political narrative. The North claimed that the Korean people were one nation divided by outside forces. But Kim Jong-un has moved away from that vision. In 2024, he described South Korea as a hostile state and abandoned long-standing reunification symbolism. That represents a major change. The government that once claimed to represent all Koreans is increasingly presenting South Korea not as a future partner in reunification, but as a permanent enemy. That shift could have consequences far beyond language. For decades, the division of Korea has been presented as temporary. Now the political narrative is increasingly built around permanent separation and hostility. The question is what this means for the future. And that may be the most difficult question of all. North Korea has survived decades of international pressure, economic hardship, and isolation. But that does not mean its future is guaranteed. A sudden collapse of the North Korean system could create enormous humanitarian and security problems. Millions of people could potentially be affected. Refugees could move across borders. Weapons could become unsecured. The economy could be thrown into chaos. And the question of what happens to the Korean peninsula afterwards would be extraordinarily complicated. That is one reason neighboring powers have often preferred stability, even when they strongly disagree with Pyongyang. A North Korean collapse might sound like an obvious solution from the outside, but for countries surrounding North Korea, the consequences could be unpredictable. The danger is that changing the status quo could create problems even greater than the ones already facing the region. So North Korea survives partly because the alternative can appear even more dangerous. And that brings us back to the image that reveals so much about the country: North Korea at night. From orbit, the contrast looks almost too simple. South Korea is illuminated, China is illuminated, and large areas of North Korea are dark. But darkness does not mean there is nothing there. Behind it are millions of people living their lives inside a system that controls information, movement, and political expression. People go to work, children attend school, families gather in their homes, markets operate, people watch television, some secretly consume foreign media, and some make the extraordinary decision to risk everything in an attempt to escape. The country may be isolated, but it is not invisible. Every satellite image provides another fragment. Every defector testimony reveals another detail. Every piece of intercepted information offers another glimpse. And every rare view across the border reminds the outside world that there is a reality beyond the official story. The great challenge is separating what North Korea wants the world to believe from what evidence tells us about the lives of the people who live there. And that is why understanding North Korea requires more than looking at its military parades or monumental buildings. You have to look at the people who cannot freely travel, the people whose access to information is restricted, The people whose opportunities can be influenced by family background, the people who have experienced scarcity, and the people who risk imprisonment, violence, and even death trying to reach the outside world. North Korea may be one of the world's most isolated countries, but isolation has limits. Information finds ways through, people find ways around restrictions, and stories eventually cross borders. The real mystery is therefore not whether North Korea has a hidden reality. It clearly does. The real mystery is how much of that reality the outside world has still never seen. And perhaps that is why the darkness visible from space is so compelling. It does not show us an empty country. It shows us a country that remains difficult to see, a country where millions of lives continue behind a political system that works extraordinarily hard to control the story told about them. The more we uncover, the clearer one thing becomes. North Korea is not simply a country hidden from the world. It is a country where the government has spent decades trying to control what its own people are allowed to know about the world outside. And yet, despite all that control, fragments of another reality continue to emerge. If you want to uncover more of those stories, subscribe to Uncovering North Korea.